Hey everybody, it's Chris from Octopod, and I'm back for week 5 of our observation of growing cannabis in a living soil versus growing cannabis in a peat and cocoa blend. It's our second week of the CV experience, I guess I'm going to call it. Everything is weird. I don't know how else to explain it. Life has changed, and my goal is to help you in these days ahead, and there's going to be a lot of them, in simplifying your life, simplifying your grow, and giving you something good at the end of it. So we're going to talk about growing pod and octopod, and at the end of this, I promised our viewers from last week a little something special. Hang around, if you dare. So last week Friday, we bent our plants. We put a scrog net in, and the day after that, Saturday, I switched them over to flower. So in switching to flower, I changed the bulb. We're working 1,000 watt in here, so I changed from the big metal halide bulb to the thin, slim, high pressure sodium bulb. Other thing that I did was change the timer from a 16-hour light day to a 12-hour light day. That is the mechanism that triggers the plant, these being photoperiodic plants, which means they respond to the amount of hours of light they get. So 12 hours tells them days are getting short, it's time to hurry up and make those buds. So that's where we're at right now, week 1 of flower. Today we're going to prune the bottoms of the plants up. I had spoke last week that I was going to try to get that done this week. Didn't happen, but that's okay. We're going to do it now. And when I do that, I'm going to start the next generation of plants. I'm going to take cuttings from the branches I clip off in the pruning process and make starts for the next batch. And I'm going to show you 2 ways to do it. One in the old-fashioned solo cup, and the other in brand new and unique direct cutting into octopods. And I'm going to tell you all about the great advantage that you have in going directly into the octopod that you can't do with anything else. Nobody else grows this way. It's special. All right? So I want to first show you here the plants. And we'll have a close-up here in a second. So I laid those all down yesterday, and they've already popped back up. All I really need to do on this is get underneath there and flip it. Super simple. That's really the only one that's going to show a lot of response there. This one comes down a little bit. But basically what I'm doing is filling in the surface area. I'm going to push branches to the back corners, to the middle, to the front, and just open that all up. So all of that light gets in there. So since the light's coming from the top, the bottom doesn't get as much light. And the buds are not developed on the bottom when they are on the top, which gives you a timing problem and a harvesting problem. If you cut the whole thing at that time, those little fuzzy buds are just little fuzzy buds. If you're making oil, fine, that's cool. That'll work because it gives you different compounds too. But if that's not your goal, it's waste. Now, there's one thing that you can do if you grow a full-on plant that will alleviate that problem. You harvest it twice. You cut all your good, ready buds off, you keep the lights on, give it a little shot of fertilizer, and in 2 weeks, all those little inside larvae buds, those are going to gain some size, and they're going to definitely gain density and oil. So, you can work with it both ways, but we're going to go ahead and trim this. So, simple as that. Get in there right along the stem, cut them off. Now, I'm going to take about 1/3, or maybe a little bit less, off the bottom of the biggest plant The other one I'll take a little bit less off. And this is incredible material for starting your clones. The plant branches on the bottom of the plant have a better balance of growth hormones for starting the rooting process. It's a lot better to take the lower branches than the top branches for your clones because of that. Gibberellin and auxin, I don't know. I forget all the science parts. I'm better on concepts. So I'm going to cut it right there. That's a little over 6 inches because I'm looking at this spot right here. I'm going to clip that off and that off. And I'm actually going to take just a little bit more off this bottom stem, so there's just a stub there. And a stub here. I could use some sharper pruners. So I'm going to clean that off so it doesn't have that hanging on there, which could turn into dead plant material and be a place for Phytophthora or something to get in. Phytophthora is a root rot. So there we are right now. The next step I'm going to take is on this bottom leaf. I'm going to cut some of the excess off. And on the next one, I'm going to do the same. Right? Because what's going to happen is we're going to lose moisture through these leaves. And we don't want to lose too much. We want to be able to keep a balance of the water coming in and the water coming out. However, if you take too much, then you're going to lose the stored energy that's in these leaves and the ability to make new energy for the roots. So as in everything else, it's a balance. Now, this is one of my favorite tricks. I've only seen it maybe a couple of times, like online and stuff. And it's got to do with how you make your cut on the bottom. Now, everybody knows you cut on the angle, so you open up more surface area. However, you can take that one step further and slice lengthwise on that bottom stem, right where those two nodes were. So what I like to do is set my branch down on a hard surface, take that sharp pointed end, and stick it in there. Rah! Just like a surgeon, Dr. Green Thumb, at your service. All right, and I'm just going to work that down, kind of pull the stem, and I've got a nice cut right through the stem, and that node exposes all kinds of surface area there. Perfect. I've got some rooting powder. Believe it or not, this is from my garden center days, so it's almost old enough to drive. Let's put it that way. Or actually, I think it is old enough to drive. And that's crazy. And so, quite honestly, I don't know if it's even effective, but I get almost 100% of rooting with this. So either the technique is good enough that it doesn't need to have good rooting powder, or rooting powder stays viable for a long time. All right, next we're going to do the solo cut. So it's important to cut holes in the bottom because you need drainage. It's important to label it. I just use a Sharpie, put on the name, the date, and any other important information that you might have. I'm going to take this little skewer and make my hole, and then I'm going to put that down a little over an inch, about to there. I need to skew down. All right, nice and tight. I'm going to water it with pH about 6 water, and I'll make sure it's well soaked and drains through a little bit. So there's our solo cut. I'll show you what I'm going to do with it post after I do the octodome and the direct cutting. So I'm going to make another one here. It's not quite as big. I could have probably left that other branch on, but I think it will work just fine. I'm going to cut this node. It's still in balance. And I've used small cuttings, smaller than this even, and I've used much larger cuttings than this too. I mean, seriously big ones. And both have worked. All right, this one I only cut the leaves off on one side. All right, stick it in there. Now again, this is moist. We've got a new soil that we're working with starting today. It's an organic cocoa-based blend, and we'll talk about it a lot more later. And I'll water this more, and I will then fill up. Since it's a cocoa-based, I'm going to fill the water up to about here, because cocoa stays drier than a peat-based. And I want to make sure that this has sufficient moisture all the way up here. So I'm going to put more water in for the cocoa blend than I would for a peat blend. But that's that. Now, you're not supposed to reuse this according to manufacturer's instructions, but they just want to sell you more. So we're all about selling less. You know, you want to make it simple, inexpensive, and pleasurable by not taking everything out of your wallet. So these are the frameworks for the Octodome. It's like a little greenhouse on top of your octopod. It's damn near genius, if I have to say so myself. It makes a little humidity dome frame, and then we have the Octodome cover, and it just goes right over the top, like so. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to basically do the same thing with a 3-gallon octopot. I'm going to put the little solo cup start in there, and I'm going to put them in the natural sunlight behind the octopot sign here. I'm going to place them on a heating mat, and we can get into a little more discussion on this next time when we look at them, but basically you plug this in, set it at 72 degrees, put your plants on there, and they stay nice and warm. Cold, even in the 60s temperatures, very difficult to start your cuttings when it's too cold. All right, let me check my list here. Cuttings, All right, we're in our last little part here, and I'm going to tell you why we're doing this. So, for one, once you touch this, the one and only time to put it in there, you don't ever have to transplant again. You don't have to wait for a solo cup. You don't have to go to the 1 gallon, the 3 gallon, to the 5 or 7 gallon. Everything is one touch. It goes in, it forms roots, and that's it. And they become established in this home right from the beginning. The other really, really super cool thing is the way the roots form. And we'll put up a shot here for you. And you can see that when you have, I'm going to just pull this up here. When you have your cutting in a solo cup or in any of the other commercial misters or plugs or whatever, any kind of a commercial standard cloning or rooting system has a limited area for the roots to go to. And then they have to be transplanted. So what is that? That's constant interruption. When you put this in here in the solo cup, you get a lot of little roots, because what's happening is the plant senses the water all around it, and the same thing in any other system, misting or plugs, and it sends out lots of little roots to capture it all over the place. It's like in a lawn. If you water the lawn just in the top couple inches, all of the roots form there. all right? With the octopods, this brilliant little structure realizes that there's a reservoir of water below it. And instead of sending out lots of little roots to get all the water around it, it sends down just a couple or few down to the big well, you know? You can see on the roots, the ones that were direct stuck in the octopod have large taproot-like structures, as opposed to all the little fine roots. What that does, I like to call it making a superhighway to the plant. So instead of like a bunch of little country roads trying to get to a population center to feed the city, you have superhighways where you can get semi-trucks and lots and lots of cars and blah, blah, whatever. Same thing. Lots of water, lots of nutrients, a huge flow. And what that does then, it affects the branching. You can see on the larger ones, the branching up above is much denser. There were many, many more bud spaces, bud plots, whatever. And so the change is not only evident in the bottom, but it's also evident in the top. Grows faster, grows stronger, and I got a guy in Oklahoma using this system in commercial setup where we've got a double layer of octopods for the veg stage. He direct sticks them. He gets them to a certain point where he then takes the grow sleeve out with the plants, put it in the 6-gallon in the autofill on rolling floors, where we're getting like 90% plus use of the space. He's getting about 1.5 times per square foot the industry average on yield. So it's a fabulous system. It doesn't matter if you're in a warehouse, a greenhouse, or in a tent in your back room. Octopod, Octodome combination, it rocks. So that's where we're at. I'm gonna close this up because I don't want to give it too much light. I don't want to interrupt our photo period on these. We're gonna try to do our seedling trial next week. Too crazy this week, just didn't happen. And so that's it for the educational portion of this program. As I say, grow in peace. And one of the things that I'm a firm believer in is education and entertainment. If you really want to teach people things, you know, give them a good time. Give them a reason to become excited about it. Give them a reason to laugh. Give them a reason to smile. A reason to smile was the impetus for my art, along with trying to talk about moving to a rural population and community development and stuff like that. I go on and on, but I'm going to do something here that I never thought I'd do, but I'm here to share along with all the other artists, and this is something a little different. So I'm going to sing you a song. It goes something like this. Oh Lord, won't you buy me a Mercedes Benz? My friends all drive Porsches. I must make amends. I worked hard all my lifetime. Nope, a lot of help from my friends. Whoa, Lord, won't you buy me a Mercedes Benz? Oh Lord, won't you buy me a color TV? Dialing $4 is trying to find me. I wait for delivery each day until 3. Whoa, Lord, won't you buy me a color TV? Whoa, Lord, won't you buy me a night on the town? I'm counting on you, Lord. Please don't let me down. Prove that you love me, and by the next round, oh Lord, won't you buy me a night on the town. All together now, Lord, won't you buy me a Mercedes Benz? My friends all drive Porsches. I must make amends. I worked hard all my lifetime. Lots of help from my friends. So Lord, won't you buy me a Mercedes Benz? Yeah. Love you, Dennis. Grow in peace. All right. Oh, hell yeah.
You did it good. You made it like not like you were trying too hard. Like you're just having fun with it.
Uh-huh.